This is the book of Acts, chapter 4, and verse 19. But Peter and John answered and said unto them, whether it be right in the sight of Yahawah to hearken unto you more than unto Yahawah, judge ye. So with that, we give our praises, glory, honor, power unto our Father Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Brakar Kudash, Sequem Yashala. I have to say, Shalom to the brother, Shalom to all the kings out there, the brother doing the work of the Most High, all the brother and the sister, Shalom. To every one of you up there, the brother in the Caribbean, the sister in the Caribbean, the brother and the sister in Europe, the brother and the sister in Africa, right, Asia, in the Middle East, whatsoever the Most High scatter us through, hey, Shalom to the brother, to everybody. All right, let's go right here. This is the book of St. John's, chapter 8 and verses 1. Yahawashi went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple. And all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. So we got to understand, when the Most High wake you up and you start learning, when you reach, you know, I'll say, the winning time, the winning season. So when you win a baby is when the baby pretty much, you cut the baby off the milk, right? Sometimes it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. It all depends, right? So you win the baby. You got to keep in mind, right? You start feeding the baby solid food, right? So when you reach that time, brother and sister, you got to understand, your duty is to start teaching, right? You got to warn the brother, you got to let them know, right? You got to warn the sister, you got to let them know that's the Most High, all right? So that's what Yahawashi Mashiach did, all right? So let's continue. And verses 3. So this is John chapter 8 and verses 3. And the scribe and Pharisee brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act, right? So you gotta understand. So there is a law or commandment in the Bible. When you go to it in the book of Deuteronomy, let's go to it. Deuteronomy 22 and 22. Deuteronomy 22 and 22. All right, Deuteronomy 22 and verse 22. Deuteronomy 22 and verse 22. Let's read it. Deuteronomy 22 and verses 22. This is the book of Deuteronomy. So you gotta understand now, were they right? Were they correct on whatsoever they were saying? Were they right? No. Let's even suppose, we will assume that the sister, she did commit adultery, right? Now we gotta understand that Yahawashi Mashiach, he did not come to judge the warrior. He did not come at that time. So he was showing more mercy as his father commanded him. Because the Most High shows us mercy. Now you got to remember that the Pharisee, the elder and the Sadducee, and some of our people, they were going off because they thought that they were the elder, you know, they know everything. That's how they were feeling. And they were looking down, Yahawashi being young, right? So you got to keep in mind. So let's read it. Verse 22. So Deuteronomy 22 and verse 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, so primarily when you see a woman, right, having sex, right, a woman that is married, she's already betrothed to another man. However, you come to find out that she is sleeping, she having sex with another man, right? Let's read it. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, a man or a woman, both, okay? Because you gotta understand, the Pharisee and the Sadducee, they were not doing righteously. They were not all of them, but the vast majority of them, they were not judging righteously. Because when you want to do judgment, you gotta do righteous judgment, right? You can't just be on one side. That's not what the Most High said to do. If your son or your daughter go off, the same way you rebuke the other brother, you got to rebuke your daughter or your son the same way. The same way you rebuke the people on the street, on the highway, you got to be able to rebuke your own brother, your own sister, your own mother the same way. You can't be, you know, Guys, you can't operate like that. The Most High is not with it. All right, we just want to put out there because a lot of people, that's how they operate. Right? Don't look because he give you a gift, he bought you this car, blah blah. No. All right. So let's read it. He said, if a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die. Now the Pharisee, guess what? They did not bring the man. What is the man? What is the man with whom she committed the adultery? What is the man? But they were able to bring just the woman. You see, that's being partial, right? That's not with the Most High. The Most High is not with it. The Most High is not with it. You got to keep in mind. If you want to do justice or judgment, it's like I told Esau, right? If you need to do something, you got to do it to everybody, all right? I told Esau, so you want to write me up? I don't mind. You write me up. You write the other people, you got to write me up too, right? You can't just write some people up and you don't write some because they're your body. You want to do favor to some people, but you don't want to do it to other people. No, that's not justice. So we got to understand, right? We learn all this weakness, right? Let's read it. He said, then shall both of them die. Both, not only the woman, but what did they do? Shalom, King. All praise be unto the Most High, Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawashi, Ba'ashem, Rakat Kodash. Come Yashala. Right. So a lot of our people, what they usually do, what do? They will only side with one person, right? Why? Because of their interest, right? Corruption. Are people corrupted? So what did the Pharisees, what did they do? They only brought the woman, but what is the man? The Lord did not say to judge like that. The Lord said both of them, the man and the woman, both must be put to death. Now, if they showed up with the man and the woman, hey, Yahawashi will address the issue differently. But that was not the case because they were just setting up Yahawashi. They were just looking for something to accuse him. They just want to accuse Yahawashi. Right? They just want to accuse him. And that's our people. So let's read it. Because this is what the Lord said. If this Deuteronomy 22 and 22, if a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die. Both the men that lay with the woman and the woman. So thou shalt put away evil from Israel. So you got to keep in mind, it's not only the woman. Why you want to accuse only the woman? What about the men? What is that? What about the men that seduce her? Regardless whoever seduce who. You see what I'm saying? So if you see your friend sleeping with who? With your brother wife, right? Right? Or you see somebody sleeping with, happen to be your friend, with somebody's husband, guess what? It's not because he is your friend, right? That you just want to go ahead and expose just the woman. No, you got to expose both of them. Both of them must be what? Judged the same way. All right. Okay. So that's what the law says. But the Pharisees, claiming to know the law, they were not operating like that. They claimed to know the law. They claimed to be righteous. And they were going against our King Yahawashi, Yamashiach. Right? Let's go to Leviticus 20 and 10. Leviticus 20 and 10. Leviticus 20 and 10. Bear with me. Leviticus 20 and 10. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20, and verses 10. And it reads, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterers and the adulteresses, right, shall surely be put to death. So the Most High is clear on it. Both. Not just only the woman, right? But what did the Pharisees did? They only brought the woman to Yahawashi. Where is the man? Where is the man? Where is the man? So because they held Yahawashi, they were looking for anything they can use against him. You see, the law is clear. I read in the book of Deuteronomy 22, then I came to Leviticus chapter 20. Let me go to Leviticus 18, still, same thing. This is the book of Leviticus chapter 18, and verses 20. He said, moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her. You see that? The Most High is straight. You see, the Most High made it clear. But the Pharisees, they did not apply the law. Leviticus 20 and 10, Deuteronomy 22 and 22, Deuteronomy 22 verses 22 through like 23, right? So you gotta keep in mind. So let's go back right here. They say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. So where is the man? If you have taken her, why did you take only her? What about the man? Because the man is your body. Because the man is your best body. So then you don't want to say anything. No, the Most High is not partial. All right, the Most High is not partial. Partiality, you learn that in the Christian church. You learn partiality in a Christian church. Some are people learning in Egypt, some learning in Babylon, some learning in the Mid-Persian captivity, some learning in the Greek captivity, until this very last day. How you gotta understand? So you wanna do judgment, do righteous judgment. So the Papa right before Yahawashi and brought just the woman, claiming that she was caught in the very act. Now Moses in the law, now it was not Moses, the Most High. The Most High gave the law to Moses. Moses did not write the law, because who called Moses? The Most High. Moses did not know anything. And when the Most High called Moses, what did Moses say to the Most High? He told the Most High, no, Lord, I don't know how to speak. I studied, I don't know how. He said, take Aaron. He said, Aaron is fluent. He speaks so many languages. He said, Aaron speaks Hebrew, he speaks other language. He said, I can't do, Lord. I can't go before Pharaoh. So understand that it's not Moses that wrote the law. Moses did not write the law. It's the law from heaven. It's the heavenly law. Heavenly law. These laws are kept in the heavens. All right? So we just want to correct that, because a lot of people, you're quick to say, well, that's not. No, it's not the law of Moses. The law just came through Moses. And this law existed before Moses. They existed since the beginning, since the creation. Before the Most High created men on earth. This law existed, man. All right? So stop being simple. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what says thou? Such should be stoned. You see that? Right? But what is the man? Hypocrisy. Nothing. The hypocrisy of our people, man. Hypocrisy of our own people, the so-called blacks, Latino and Native, Nigerian, Benin, Mexican. We're very hypocrite people, right? We don't do justice. This, so they ask Yahawashi, what you say, man? How you feel about this? This they say, tempting him. So they were just tempting Yahawashi, that they may have to accuse him. So they knew very well that the law said both the man and the woman got to be brought to the justice. Both of them, not just the woman. So in order to set him up, they brought only the woman. So they thought that Hamashiach does not have knowledge. You see? Because they were so simple. The Pharisees, our forefathers, the Pharisees, these rebellious of our people back in those days, the so-called blacks, back in those days, they thought that Yahawashi was just simple. He is simple in the spirit. But when it comes to wisdom and knowledge, he got it all, man. He got it all just as his father. So they thought that he was one of these, simple that they can just deceive. Right? If that did not work with John the Baptist, why would you try that with Yahawashi? If your weakness, the weakness of the Pharisees did not work, because we know that John the Baptist, he was already preaching before Yahawashi started preaching, man. He was already preaching, John the Baptist. So if they were not able to make that happen with John the Baptist, because they could not deceive John the Baptist. They could not deceive John the Baptist. So what happened? Why would you try that with Yahawashi? Because he already told you, he said, he that cometh after me, whose shoes I'm not worthy to remove, he shall baptize you with what? With fire, the Holy Ghost. So that enough is already enough. And that's happening in the book of John chapter 3. Or you go to Matthew actually chapter 3. So in the beginning, the first 3 chapters or 2 chapters. So you got to keep in mind. Then we're in the chapter 8 of the book of John. So what make you believe? What made it they were simple? They thought that Yahawashi Mashiach didn't know. Come on, man. Don't do stuff like that. All right? He said, these days say tempting him, that they may have to accuse him. But Yahawashi stooped down and with his finger rolled on the ground as though he heard them not. So first of all, you got to keep in mind, Yahawashi Mashiach, he ignored them. He ignored them first. He just ignored them, whatever they were saying, as if he didn't hear them. He heard them, right? But he didn't even pay attention. He just walked down on the ground. All right? So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. Morning, brother, how are you? All praises to the Most High. Right? So Mashiach asked them, he said, what among you is sinless? Because already them coming and tempting Yahawashi Mashiach, that already make them a sinner, man. They're already sinning already. Right? Them tempting the Most High, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. They were already tempting the Most High. You see that? They were already going off already. They were already sinning. Then they bring another sister talking about the sister was caught in the very act of adultery. Now what is the man? So they were already tempting the Most High. They were already tempting the Most High Yahweh, which is already a sin. All right? So Yahawashi Mashiach, he rebuked them. He said, he that is without sin, you never sin, you ain't done no wrong, and cast the first stone at her. You go in the book of Matthew, that's the same thing. Matthew, let's read 7:1. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, and verses 1. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7. So you gotta understand, the Pharisees, they were not doing righteous judgment. They were not. Right? They were being what? Partial. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, and verses 1. Judge not, that ye be not judged. So you gotta understand, don't judge. Don't judge that you be not judged. Right? So if you don't know what the law say, or you don't know how to deal with the word of the Most High, don't say to the brother, or don't just accuse wrongfully. See what I'm saying? You got to make sure that you do it according to the Bible, as it is written. But don't just do it as based on your opinion. No, we cannot operate like that. So Matthew 7:1 say, Yahawashi said, judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. You see? And why beholdest thou the mark that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thy own eye? So you gotta understand, the Pharisees, the Jew, the Pharisees, some of the Pharisees, the Sadducees described, what were they doing? They were just accusing. They will see everybody being what? Off, wicked, breaking the law of the commandment, right? They saw that, right? But guess what? They were sinner too. They were sinner too. Yahawashi Mashiach, he knew them. He saw that he knew the spirit of every one of them. So that's why he told them. He said, whosoever is without sin, you cast the first stone. He said, cast the first stone if you never sin. Cast the first stone if you never sin. Right? He said, cast the first stone if you are without sin. So when you judge, or you want to do judgment, you got to do righteous judgment. Don't do judgment according to your lawyer that you have in your Supreme Court in Virginia, right? That you have in New York, Chicago. They don't know how to judge. They're liars, man. They're a bunch of wicked people. There is no justice. If you're judging outside of the Bible, that's business. Most of your lawyers, your judges, regardless of the court, wherever they were, guess what? They're judging for the money. They're just doing it for the money. They ain't not doing it for the Most High. They ain't doing it for righteousness. They're just judging just for the money. They just want the money. It's just the money. It's just for the money. So let's get back right here. He said, thou hypocrite. You see, that's what I mentioned the word hypocrite in the beginning, right? Why? Because when you take a look at it, it's nothing else than what? Hypocrisy. Because they were sinners already, they were already tempting who? The Most High. So if you tempting the Most High, if the Most High were to judge you, the Most High will put them to death, man. You tempting the Most High. You tempting the Most High, but you bring another sister accusing a sister. A lot of our people do that. He said, thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. You see? There we go. He rebuked them. Right? Let's get back to it. This is the book of John, chapter 8, and verses 9. And they which heard it, be convicted by their own conscience. Their own conscience convict them. They understood, they knew they're wicked. But they were, how do you see? They were deceiving many of our people, man, by the hypocrisy. Because our people, when they see the Pharisees back in those days with the long fringes, right, this long garment, they got long beard, all these things, guess what? They thought these brothers were righteous. Guess what? They were a bunch of hypocrites. You see what I'm saying? So they were convicted by their own heart, their own mind. That's how powerful is the Most High. They can blame a sister wrongfully. They didn't bring the men, because if they had brought the men, Yahawashi would have listened to them and deal differently. They brought only the woman. So they can just accuse Yahawashi. But guess what? He rebuked them. And they were convicted by their own mind, their own heart, their own conscience. Imagine now, man, that's deep. That's deep. All right? He said, went out one by one. So they left. All the multitude that came accusing the sister, guess what? They left one by one. Beginning at the eldest, imagine. The eldest, maybe the eldest, he was 80, maybe 95. Maybe the elder was 110, 180, whatever, how old he was. But they were all older. All of them, they're more older than Yahawashi, right? Say beginning at the eldest. He said beginning at the eldest. Beginning at the eldest, even unto the last, unto the youngest one. Right? The young one among them. That's how the Most High set it up. The Most High said, you know what? The one accusing the sister, fine, don't worry, I got this. Then the Most High said, you know what? Wait, I'm gonna show you. Then they start bouncing. They start taking off every one of them, from the eldest onto the youngest, or to the smallest. Okay. Even onto the last. And Yahawashi was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. So it was just left just the sister and Yahawashi. Because you got to keep in mind, at that time, this time, Yahawashi, he did not show up to judge us. He came to correct us, to rebuke us, to let us know that that's what the Most High before the day of judgment. But a lot of people don't understand. All right? He said, when Yahawashi had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, woman, where are thine accusers? Where are thine accusers? That's why Yahawashi asked the sister, where are your accusers? Right? Had no man condemned thee? She said, no man, Lord. And Yahawashi said unto her, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. You see? Now, the sister have done it, probably, right? But probably because they have hatred toward the sister, they only brought the sister. They did not bring the man. So the Yahawashi told them, he said, listen, sis, don't sin again. That's why we tell the brother and the sister, repent. Do not sin anymore. Do not kill. Don't lie. Don't break the Shabbat. All right? Let's go to, he said, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Go and sin no more. Do not sin no more. Don't do no evil again. Don't do it. So the sister maybe have done it, right? Yahawashi Mashiach told her, do not sin again. Don't do that thing again. Let's go in the book of John, chapter 3, verse 17. This is the book of John, chapter 3, verse 17. For Yahweh sent not his son into the world to condemn the world. So you got to understand, it's not the time to condemn you. So that's why we're correcting the brother and the sister. That's why we rebuke them. We rebuke them sharply, as the Most High said. Rebuke them right now so that they may be pricked, they may repent and keep the commandment. All right? We rebuke, you got to rebuke them. You got to let them know that's the Most High. So that won't be, like you won't be partaker of the sins. All right? So let's read it again. John 3 and 17. For Yahweh sent not his son, so Hamashiach, into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So we will be saved through who? Yahawashi Mashiach. How are we going to be saved? It's only through Yahawashi Mashiach if we keep the commandment. Now if you don't keep the commandment, you cannot be saved. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't cry, you can run, whatever. If you don't keep the commandment, you cannot be saved. You cannot be saved. You got to keep the commandment of the Most High. You got to keep the commandment. If you are not keeping the commandment, this is the high season that you start working on it. Right? And the commandment of the Most High are not hard. Right? The commandment of the Most High are not hard to keep. They are not hard to keep. You can keep it if you want to. Now, if you don't want to keep the commandment, that's another story. Right? The commandment is written. Right? The commandment are not hard. Let's go right here, 1 John. Bear with me. I got a lot of things in my hand. Right? So I'm opening so many precepts. Let's go in the book of 1 John chapter 5. Let's go to it. I'm just quoting, but let me go straight to it. Okay? This is the book of 1 John chapter 5. This is the book of 1 John chapter 5. And verses, let me read this first, then I'm going to jump back again. All right? This is the book of John chapter 5. 1 John chapter 5 and verses 3. For this is the love of Yahawashi, that we keep his commandment. So if you love the Most High, eventually the brother and the sister, you keep the commandment. And his commandment, so the commandment of the Most High Yahawashi are not grievous. They are not grievous. They are not grievous. John 14:21. John 14 and 21. Let's go to it. John 14 and 21.